Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us here on NTV Uganda for a special talk show this Friday, the 10th of October 2025. Now, it's just in a few hours we'll be commemorating the International Day of the Girl Child 2025. And each year on the 11th of October, the world comes together to recognize, to reflect, and also to reaffirm commitments to the rights, the dignity, and the potential of girls. And this is from anywhere and everywhere in the world. Now, this morning we are joining millions of people, participants, voices, activists, advocates to shine light on the incredible strength and the resilience as well as the leadership of the girl child, even in the face of crises that continue to emerge or get new faces ever so often. This year, under the United Nations theme, the girl that I am, the change that I lead, girls on the front lines of crisis. We do celebrate girls not just as victims of challenges, but as bold, innovative leaders responding to climate change, responding to conflict, and responding to health pandemics as well as social inequalities. Now, girls are no longer waiting for the change. Guess what? They are leading the change. This powerful conversation is brought to you by FAWE Uganda. This is the Forum for African Women Educationists Uganda, and this is in partnership with Nation Media Group, NTV Uganda to be exact. Now, since 1997, you do have FAWE Uganda having been a trailblazer and continues to promote gender equality in education and empowering the young women to thrive in all spheres of their lives. Now, through projects that they are running, such as the SHARE project that is currently being funded by Global Affairs Canada, FAWE is working alongside partners, and this is to improve sexual and reproductive health and rights for adolescents, especially girls across the country. Now, we are here to create a space to listen to the voices of girls. We're here to create a space to listen to the stakeholders working and engaging directly with girls and to understand the barriers that they are facing. But more importantly, we want to celebrate the change that we're already seeing created in our communities by the recognized works that we're already seeing within our embedments of structure in society. So joining me for this conversation, I do have the Ministry of Education and Sports on this panel this morning. I do also have the Executive Director of FAWE Uganda, but also guess what? We do have a young lady who is in school right now, and she's a living experience of what we're going to be discussing this morning. I am Priscilla Regina Naluoga. Welcome. All right, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. As you're joining us, I'm also being joined by stakeholders and panelists that are going to be critical in driving the conversation and the change that we want to see for the girl child. I am Priscilla Regina Naluoga. Now, joining me on my set this morning from my extreme left, I do have Rosette Nanyanzi, Gender Advisor from the Ministry of Education and Sports. Good morning to you, Ms. Nanyanzi.
Good morning. How are you, listeners and viewers for NTV? Thank you for hosting us today.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, she is going to be sharing insights on the national strategies in promotion of girls' education as well as empowerment. Now, we do have all the way from Buyende district, a very beautiful young lady. And when she smiles, yeah, you'll go like, she's definitely living and leading a good life. Good morning to you, Edith.
Good morning, madam.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes.
My name's Mbaiza Id Sajov Haq. I come from
You can speak louder than that, Edith. Yeah.
I come from Buyende district and I'm in senior 4. Good morning, everyone.
Nice to have you. And of course, the Executive Director for FAWE Uganda is here on set with us, and that is Susan Opok Tumusime. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, viewers. My name is Susan Opok Tumusime. Executive Director of FAWE Uganda.
Okay. Now, a tireless advocate for girls' rights and gender-responsive education. She's definitely the right person to talk to and help us understand what are the realities on ground. So this is not just a conversation, it's a call to action, and most importantly, to ensure that every girl is seen and every girl is heard, protected, and empowered to lead under the theme. Now, as we start on this conversation, we want to have a reminder or an understanding of the International Day of the Girl Child. What were the issues that were being addressed by different stakeholders on a global forum in order to then sit down and agree that, you know what, moving forward, we should have a recognition of the girl child on a global level? I'll take that with Nanyanzi.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are so many issues that have emerged globally that actually lead us to start conversations around how do we get girls out of these challenges. First of all, during COVID-19, we all appreciate that we're all out of employment, out of school, everyone was at home. But during that time, there is already evidence that many girls experienced a lot of issues, including teenage pregnancies, early marriages, mental health. That aside, we also have conflicts, and we appreciate that Uganda is a host to so many refugees, but when you look at the situations, it is always the girls that are on the move, and in most cases they miss out on their education, they are experiencing different forms of violence, so that alone puts them at a crisis, and therefore as a country we should be able, and globally, we should be able to be discussing these issues. The other thing that is also emerging, the issue of climate change. In areas where we have climate crisis, it is always girls that are more affected. For instance, if there is no water, given our gender roles, who is expected to fetch water? It is always the girl. Who is supposed to cook? It is always the girl. Who is supposed to, like, at the end of the day, you find that these girls may not be able to actually do their work at school. They may not be able to participate simply because they have to look for food, they have to look for water. And that aside, girls go through menses, and when they are going through that stage, they need water, but they also need nutritious food. So all those issues actually expose the girls more. The other issue that is very critical is the digital movement. It is a good thing, it's an opportunity for this girl, but it is also coming in as a challenge where we are seeing many of our girls being abused online. So as key stakeholders, these are areas that we actually need to focus on to ensure that we support. We appreciate that girls have rights, but we also need to help them appreciate that there are challenges that come with all these emerging challenges. So that is the reason as to why we go into celebration. How do we commemoration of this day, how do we address these emerging issues, but also how do we respond to the key challenges that we had before. When you look at our statistics, we enroll so many. In primary, we've been able to achieve gender parity, but transition to secondary, we keep losing them. That is a challenge that we've had for a long time, but now there are also these emerging issues that we also need to focus on to ensure that this child actually is able to study and complete their education.
Yeah.
So that is the reason as to why FAWE, NTV, Ministry of Education are having this conversation, so that it's not only education in this, but all of us, so that we amplify the voices of these young people.
Collective efforts to actually deal with those emerging issues that you have raised. Susan, the theme for this time around 2025 is The Girl I Am, the Change I Lead, and this is girls on the front lines of crisis. It is a powerful theme. However, how does it resonate with the lived experiences and realities for our girls in Uganda today?
Yes, thank you very much. FAWE's mandate is girls' education. And looking at the theme, the girl I am, the change that I would like to, girls at the front line of, of the crisis. I would like to give two examples that portray what girls actually go through. One is a girl I would call Susan, who has parents who have neglected her, who have let her go through trauma. And this girl eventually has come out to FAWE and said, madam, I was defiled, I was raped, I have been neglected, I have been rejected. And do you know what? My father is one of these policemen that has just been upgraded by the president. This is a girl, the crisis that children are in, the crisis that girls are in. Secondly, another girl who says, my parents separated and I had to take over the home. Now, when FAWE advertised for the scholarships, I walked 23 kilometers to come to the DEO's office so that I could come and get an opportunity. But when I reached there, the forms were over. But I was lucky that the DEO helped me. But now, I was applying to university, and the university requires 30,000 shillings. I knew that there was nowhere that I could get this money. So what I did was to get a sugar daddy. And she said, I'm not ashamed to talk about this, because I did this because I wanted to go to school. I slept with this man, and what he did was to give me 10,000 shillings every time I slept with him. That was 30,000. So I slept with him 3 times. That is the crisis that girls are facing. But the resilience that comes with talking about the issue. Here I am. This is what happened to me. And I want to be educated. I want to go to school. I have a vision that I am chasing. And so the voices of the girls go and come through the opportunities that are being provided by FAWE Uganda. FAWE is giving girls and boys even, because we support education, we support advocacy, we support research, and we work very closely with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development, Ministry of Health, to ensure that girls and young men are supported, that their voices are heard, that we build on their resilience so that they can become something in the future.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Susan. The theme being the girl that I am, the change that I lead, for this International Day of the Girl Child being commemorated tomorrow. We're privileged to be in the company of one girl that is of such course and resilience as Edith amongst us. Edith is a beneficiary of FAWE Uganda, and we want to hear your personal story, Edith. What was your life like before joining FAWE? How did you get into FAWE? And what has you joining FAWE, what has been the impact on your life, especially in terms of the future that you see for yourself?
Okay, thank you so much. Me, before, when I had not yet joined FAWE, I remember I was someone who couldn't speak in public. I remember I started from primary, from nursery class to P7, but I'd never participated in debates, speeches, or what. But as time came, I was in senior 2 when I was recruited among the members of FAWE at our school Chidereses. So here I got a chance to go and get trained by the FAWE under the SHARE project. these people really encouraged us to have self-esteem, to believe in ourselves, and to make us know that we have rights and we have responsibilities. And we have to make sure that when you need the right, you gain hand in hand together with the responsibility. So here, I came back at school. I revised myself. Even when I was there, they would tell us that you can give a speech in front of us, but I could just panic. But I took my time, and over the sessions that we had, I came to realize who I am and what I can do. And I realized that everyone to be born, there is a reason, regardless of being a girl or a boy. So I gave chance to my life to try out, and that's when I participated in some of the best that were held at school. With God's mercy, the best were for district level, and I couldn't believe that I was pronounced as the best debater that year.
Wow.
So I really saw that FAWE had made a change in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who was weak in my studies. But there, I realized that there are people who are supporting us. They want us also to stand. So I said I shouldn't undermine myself. I have to wake up and strengthen my studies. So I strengthened my studies, and above all, I want to make it better even in the UNEP that we are going to do on Monday, so that I can reach my goal that I've set.
Yeah.
The goal of being an engineer who works in auto electronic cars.
Okay. Engineer Edith, we should start addressing you accordingly as Engineer Edith. Now, Engineer Edith, girls in Buyende and many other rural districts are actually facing some issues and similar barriers like yourself. Talk to us about some of the biggest challenges that you have seen with your fellow girls in Buyende that they are facing with right now, and how are you or them collectively trying to manage and overcome those problems?
One of the big problems the nation has to know that when a child doesn't know him or herself, even if you pay the school fees, nothing she will become or nothing she will do. So that has been a very big problem at our school, in our village. Girls, for them, are after having money. You know, this modern world, these girls in the city, for them, they are somehow exposed. These girls in urban centers, but in the village, for them, they just copy what these people do. So they put on dresses, they focus on living that life of leisure, wearing expensive clothes, but when it comes to education, the girl won't be focused. They think of having boyfriends, and when you look at school, those people who have such, they are the people that are praised there. So this means that their mindset is somehow is not good. So as we thought that, and in FAWE, I also had changed from there. So to make such a change, such that these other girls can also change and change their mindset and come up with a goal of life. Not to simply just walk your life the way you want, but you have to know the purpose to why you live. So I come in and give sessions of guidance through what we were taught, to tell them that life has a purpose. Don't simply just move it the way you see it, but take time and sit down. Think about the reason to why your parents gave birth to you, to why they are struggling to pay school fees. You know, school fees there in the village, it is not easy to get, but the parents can surrender it and give it to you. So we encourage our fellows to make sure that they utilize the money and they set goals in life, because it can help it so much, can help them very, very much. Because if you have a goal, you can stand however much the situation may be hard. So we encourage them, and we keep holding sessions to guide girls, having self-esteem and being confident that even when someone approaches you and tells you maybe, I love you, I want you to be my wife, I will give you a watch, that's for nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Those are small things that you're going to kill your own life just because of the small things. So for me, I think the biggest problem we have is mindset change.
Okay, all right. Mindset change, identity crisis. It does, you know, impact a girl child especially a lot. I remember my own example when I was a teenager. You know, when you're becoming a young lady, things are starting to pop up, hips, bums, what? And so men who stop you and are convincing you of such things. But because I knew where I came from and I knew earlier on who I was and who I belonged to, they had nothing to tell me. But the cases are different for girls like Edith and her fellow sisters. This brings us into a conversation, transformative education, that not only addresses the academics but addresses holistic livelihood for our girl child in Uganda if they're able to lead the change that they want to see for their communities. This is why I want to talk to you, Susan. In terms of FAWE, you are doing education in such a way that you're integrating in skills, mentorship and leadership into the programs that you are using to equip these girls to lead and thrive. Talk to us about those.
Yes, thank you very much. I think this young lady, the young lady has spoken about transformative education already. The ability to know who you are, the aspect of self-awareness, the aspect of emotional intelligence, ability for the young people to, you know, think critically, positioning themselves beyond the school curriculum, the in-class learning. It's not about just knowledge transfer, but action that follows that knowledge transfer. So what FAWE is doing through the provision of mentorship, creating awareness, we have, as an example, the extended orientation program when we are taking on young people to whatever institutions we are taking them through. We take them through various topics to help them appreciate who they are, what they are going to face, what they need to know, how they need to behave. And you know, the possibility of having a mentor, the possibility of having a coach, so that their voices are heard, so that they are not shrinking. I think this young lady is a good example of the kind of and the quality of young people that we have taken through and are guiding through transformative education. The girls that are pregnant, because we have worked with the Ministry of Education and many other institutions to support school re-entry. And many times people have pointed fingers, but creating the guidelines, working with the government has been a positive you know, trajectory to helping the girls' voices, to helping the communities understand that pregnancy is not an end in itself. We are currently supporting young people that are going to university through the Higher Education Access Certificate, which is a bridging program. Young people that have not passed through or, you know, gotten the required 2 principles to go to university, but they are bridged. You know, you go with your 1 principal, probably 2 subsidiaries. You're bridged, and you become, you know, the kind of person that you want to be. We are looking at the potential of the young people, and we have seen young people come out, even becoming those that have gone through the bridging program, as an example, becoming more outspoken, being, you know, knowing what they need to do because of that bridging program, because of the mentorship program. So we are using various methodologies to ensure that we support young people, because as FAWE Uganda, as FAWE as an institution, we believe that every young person has a potential, and that potential only needs to be supported. And we as grown-ups, as parents, as government, as, you know, teachers, we are accountable and responsible to the support of the young people.
Okay. Speaking of government, Rosette, under the Ministry of Education and Sports, I know that FAWE Uganda's existence in this space is only an indicator of the existing gaps that they are helping the government to bridge. But when it comes to transformative education and promotion of gender equity, the gender responsive education policies that we do have right now, how are they continuously being integrated to support our sisters like Edith to ensure that they can become engineers but holistic citizens of Uganda, particularly in underserved communities and rural areas?
Yeah, thank you very much for that wonderful question. Of course, as Minister of Education and as Government of Uganda, we lead in policy development, and policy implementation happens at different levels. We are running a decentralized system for primary, but also you realize that we have other stakeholders that play a critical role in implementation of the different policies that we come up with, and FAWE happens to be one of those partners that actually help us to get to the last person in the rural setting. But that aside, we also have structures at different levels of government. We have the district local governments, and under the district local government we have the district education officer, we have inspectors, and these ones help us to ensure that the policies now get to the last person. But at the national level, there are also other aspects that we take into consideration. For instance, as Government of Uganda, we promote gender responsive planning and budgeting, and that is where you see that we are able to look at those areas that are struggling and be able to allocate resources effectively. For instance, there are barriers that would take girls out of school, for instance, sanitation and hygiene, and the ministry has been deliberate on ensuring that resources are put aside to continuously have gender responsive facilities so that these adolescent girls do not drop out of school. That aside, through the implementation of the gender in education policy, we see a number of changes, including putting more focus on the teacher, because when this child gets to the school, it is the teacher that they stay with for the whole day. So the government is intention on ensuring that our teachers use gender responsive pedagogies, being able to take into consideration the unique needs of the different learners, including those that are coming from challenged households, children from refugee settings, children with disabilities, to ensure that each and every child can be able to learn in a safe and conducive environment. The Ministry of Education has also been in position to empower our foot, we call them the foot soldiers, and we know that when it comes to issues of adolescents, we have senior women and men teachers. These help us where the parent is not. The senior woman and senior man teacher should be able to speak to these adolescents. In Edith's submission, she said girls in the rural settings do not have, they lack self-esteem. The ministry has gone ahead to develop a life skills toolkit, aware that these children are transitioning. This is a stage, but how do they transition? They should be able to make decisions that would benefit them. They should be able to have that self-esteem, because when you're not proud of yourself, of course there are things that are likely to happen to you. To be able to maneuver through the different challenges that I had earlier talked about. For instance, climate change. How does it affect you? How do you prepare yourself as a young person? If you're coming from a poor household, how do you prepare yourself? She talked about being given a watch, and a watch for me, with the experience I've had in the field, a watch is something big. We've seen many of our girls getting pregnant for as low as a chapati. So when you empower them with these life skills, they'll be able to say, even when I'm hungry, I know where I'm going and I'll be able to reach there. So that is also very critical. That aside, we appreciate the role of the community. In our Education Act, we are intentional on highlighting the roles of parents in the education of their children. And one of them is to ensure that all children of school-going age are enrolled. When girls enroll at the right age, they are likely to go through the system without getting pregnant. That is one. So the parent has a critical role to ensure that this child is enrolled on time. When you have enrolled the child, you should be able to provide the basic needs. In need fees submission, children go out to look for these basic needs: a midday meal, a sanitary pad, a knicker, a bra, and at the end of the day, this child gets these things. So in our engagement in community dialogues, we emphasize the role of the parent to ensure that they support the education of their children. And
that's very impressive, because as ministry, you can't do things yourself. As FAWE, you can't work alone. As Edith, she's, in as much as you're saying that she has to consider climate change and how does she, but she can't do it herself. She needs the support of family where she comes from and the community by and large. Susan, this is where I want to understand from you, FAWE Uganda. You've been a long champion of girls' education. Can you share with us examples where your advocacy work as FAWE Uganda or interventions have actually directly influenced national policies that Rosette has been referring to, or even led to positive shifts in terms of community attitudes towards our girl child and their emerging issues?
Yes, thank you very much. Like I said, we work very closely with the Ministry of Education and Sports, Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Health on sexual reproductive health issues. We currently, are working on a SHARE project. SHARE is the sexual reproductive health rights, where we are and have been training young people to become leaders, creating awareness about who they are, about their bodies. Rosette's referred to the life skills training. That is part of what we are doing. And we have seen change. We have seen acceptance by the district leadership, by the cultural leaders, about the issues that we bring to the fore. Examples of teenage pregnancy. We have worked to disseminate the school re-entry guidelines, but also help the traditional leaders, religious leaders, to appreciate what it means by a young person being pregnant. That because they are does not disqualify them from being children and being young people that still have potential that can be supported. We have also worked with journalists to see how they can amplify, train them on gender responsiveness, pedagogy, and how to report issues to do with or that affect the gender aspect and perspectives. And in Buyende, as an example, we had journalists writing about situations that are affecting young people in school. And as an example, there was a school where girls were, in a boarding school, but girls were living at a center, and the things that were happening there were not good. So based on the training, the journalists wrote about this, and the district's local government came in, parents came in and constructed a dormitory within the school. In terms of the school re-entry, working on the guidelines, we've had daycare centers built at Maji Seed School, one of the refugee schools, to support and ensure that girls stay in school. Broadly, we have also seen that young people are challenged when they're at home. The aspect of girls and young people being heads of households, even when parents are, seeing that a lot of families that we are supporting, the children that we're supporting, come from very dysfunctional families. Parents not taking children to school. We came and worked with the Ministry of Education, worked with universities to advocate for the Higher Education Access Certificate, which was approved as an entry point to, you know, education, and young people that have not met the initial required, you know, points are now being allowed, you know, through the Higher Education Access Certificate to go to school. So we bring into perspective various issues that affect the dignity and the potential of young people. And because we work with government agencies, we work with communities, we have had bylaws actually being enacted at you know, local government, because we bring in through our Tuseme clubs. You find that the young people are able to talk about the things that affect them. Tuseme means speak up or speak out. In you know, it's a Swahili word, but it's a model that we are utilizing. Okay. We have also utilized the skillful parenting in our prevention of violence program in the Rwenzoris, and the Ministry of Gender has come up to to support this process, because they have found the model that we are utilizing to involve and engage parents in the support of the young people is really something that is worthwhile. So it's really a multi-sectoral, multicultural aspect and perspective that we are utilizing to reach out to ensure that we impact on the young people, because as FAWE we believe that without young people, then we can, you know, Uganda cannot be.
There's no future, but without a productive young person, more so, and a holistic young person, our future can be quite shaky. Engineer Edith, this is where I turn to you, and you have told us that when you joined FAWE, you were trained in such a way that now you are an able speaker. So, if you had the opportunity to address President Museveni, yeah?
Yes.
If you had the opportunity to address the Secretary General of United Nations, what would your message be to them, and what kind of support would you say girls like you need in order to succeed and lead?
Thank you so much. This message, if I'm sending a message to the President, since they are the head of the government, I think, I'm saying they should extend services, those best services that are in urban areas, to rural villages, so that they can impact the lives of people there. Because we see that many people say in our villages, after senior 4, I'm going in the state to work, but after senior 4, because parents don't have money to pay for them to continue. So if the government extends services to the villages, services like they can extend technical institutes to support these people with skills of employing themselves, because there are parents that you can even reach P7, but the mother can no longer support, and you just end there depending on agriculture. But think of it, the population is growing, but the family has the mother and the father depended on the same land, and you, the children, also are going to depend on the same land. So the child will fail to study because there will be no money for school fees, and this will mean that this child also has to join the land so that he support the life. So here I pray that the government, if it extends services that can help these young people, us down there, to simply employ ourselves, that a child, even when schooling has failed, but the talents can work. Because we see that in areas, some other areas, students can have access to areas where they can promote their talents. But there in the village, the talent will simply end there. You will stay with it, it will take you nowhere, because there is no access where you can expose it. There is nothing that can help you to develop it. So there I beg the government that you try to extend the services that are in these improved areas to those rural areas, because those guys are suffering because of unemployment. Even that's why most of the girls are facing these challenges, just because parents are poor, parents lack money. So if the government comes in and extends those skills to support the rural areas, to build themselves, to develop their areas, other than fixing themselves into the cities, it can work and it can lead to the development of our nation.
Okay.
For the support of other girls, I don't think the FAWE can support all, the FAWE Uganda can support all the girls that are in village that lack school fees. I don't think. But if the government and the FAWE organizations create that skills, those skills that I've so far talked about, they can develop the nation. They can develop the lives of girls.
All right. This is where it actually brings us to partnerships. The Ministry of Education and Sports partnering with FAWE Uganda, civil society, and then all collectively partnering with parents, with community leaders, even with the boy child, by the way. Rosette, talk to us about the importance of collaboration in actually arriving to achieve the desired end goal in ensuring that we have a girl child who is able to succeed and to lead against all odds.
Thank you very much. We have already seen that we cannot afford to work in isolation of this child. The EDF you see here, she needs to go to school, she needs a protective environment, she needs a supporting family, she needs health services, she needs everyone. She needs employment, she needs the skills. And that's why the Ministry of Education is working closely with all the key sectors, for instance, on improving the learning environment. We are working with the Ministry of Water and Environment on addressing issues of sexual reproductive health. We are working with the Ministry of Health on dealing with the issues of protection. We are working with the Uganda Police, we are working with the Ministry of Gender, we are working with almost everyone. And with the skilling, we are working closely with the Office of the President. The Office of the President has put in place skilling centers across the country. And these are opportunities. But also, as Ministry of Education, we are really enlarging our activate institutions to ensure that they will be able to reach out to all the young people that can actually be able to enroll in these institutions. And the opportunities are there. Maybe what is lacking is all of us to go out and create awareness about the existing opportunities so that our children don't just end up in the communities, but they are able to thrive. Two, you talked about the role of men. We have seen men in cases of issues of pregnancy, early marriages, they have been perpetrators. They sit in conversations to negotiate the dowry, but they also marry and make our girls pregnant. So we've seen that working in isolation of men is not easy, it cannot help us. So we are intentional on targeting them as allies and champions of the change that we want to see, because we know that when you educate this girl, you have educated a nation. So that's why you want the men to be part of this education, to support, protect, so that this girl can be able to thrive.
Okay.
And when she thrives, everyone thrives. Yeah.
All right, Susan, let's talk about decision making and girls at the forefront of decision making. Many a times their voices or their presence can be in the room, but their inclusion of the voice in a decision to be made is usually the limiting factor. They'll open the doors for them, let them in there, and they'll just be hearers of what is being decided on their behalves. How is FAWE Uganda ensuring that girls' voices are not just included, but they are actually central and are very evident in shaping solutions for local and national levels?
Yes, thank you. That is, brings us back to what the social cultural norms are. And many times, even when even at this, with my position and many other women, you find that despite the fact that we are educated, we are, we've been exposed, the cultural norms and the voices that continue to say that you are a woman continue to be.
It's like there's a tag that
yes,
because you're a woman, you have
to, you have to listen, you have to be behind. Exactly. So recently we were at a conversation, and the speaker said, one of the critical issues is the voices that come with us, because as FAWE Uganda, we are supporting young people to take lead, and many, have moved forth. We are using gender responsive pedagogy, where the teachers are supported to help the young people in the classrooms, out of the classroom, to be self-aware, but also position themselves. And so the teachers are asked to use appropriate language. Many times you find that the textbooks, the language is that you have big breasts, and so the girl shrinks. The language about materials that are being utilized in classrooms, where the girl is the the nurse and the boy is the engineer, and this actually comes out very clearly in the our experience as FAWE. You find that when we are taking on students, many of the girls are at S4 level. Many of them have only been exposed because of being in the rural areas majorly to being a nurse. That seems to be their, they feel that their potential is being a nurse. Then, even when you try to support them to change their courses, they are so rigid because the parents, the guardians have said you need to be a nurse so that you can come back home. You need to be a teacher so the models that we are using, the Tuseme, where we are utilizing the clubs in the schools for the girls to open up, to act about the things that are affecting them, support to the teachers in the classrooms, in the communities, and through the gender responsive pedagogy we go through from secondary to university, lecturers, teachers, to understand that girls need to be supported. Girls need to be helped to speak up in class. Don't wait for a girl to put up their hands if they cannot. Help them so that, use appropriate language that can motivate them to come through. How can they in communities speak up? Groups, the Tuseme groups are in school, are in classrooms. I mean, the skillful parenting that I said we are working with, helping this, the parents to communicate in the home, for the children to be aware about that communication, the linkages between, parents, school, communities, as well as the education system. And girls also being approached, being mentored, because for all the young people that we support, the girls, the boys, they have mentors, they have coaches, we have convenings where we allow them to come, and speak about their issues, to present their issues, and that is how some of these testimonies are coming through. And I know that with the exposure, one of the very big detrimental factors to, girls not being, at the forefront is that many are not exposed. So they come and there's this saying that my mother is the best cook until you get out there. So once they have gotten out there, they have seen what the world is, and many are actually coming forth to become leaders, being able to voice out, being able to interact, and we are happy and proud about what we are doing collectively to support the girls. Okay. This does not mean that because many times when we talk about the girl, people are saying, how about the boys? Our mandate is girls' education. But even with that, we support the boys, because we look at 80 girls, 20%, boys, and involve the boys in all our activities, because we want all children to fulfill their potential, but to become a better version of themselves so that we can have a better Uganda.
All right. So as we're counting down hours to the International Day of the Girl Child, of course, call to action and continued commitments in different capacities. With 4 minutes left, each one of us can use a minute, I believe. I'll start with the overseeing stakeholder, that is government, Ministry of Education and Sports, Rosette Nanyanzi.
Thank you very much. For me, my call to action is we need to work together. The issues affecting girls are many, therefore they need to work together. They cannot be addressed by one sector or one individual. Let's work together.
Multi-sectorial approach. Okay, all right. Okay, we'll give Engineer Edith, the last voice. So Susan Opok, could you please share with us your continued commitments to ensure that girls are able to lead, their voices being heard, and them actually thriving against the crisis before them?
Yes, amidst the numerous crises that girls have and continue to have, I believe that each and every one of us as stakeholders, be it at a governmental level, at the school level, at the community level, we have a responsibility to support the young people, because every young person, every girl has potential. That potential can be tapped depending on how we support, how we stand with these young people. So girls need to be educated in order to be, the leaders that they need to be, for their voices to be heard. And that education can be supported by you as a government, as a parent, as a leader. Do not leave these girls' destiny to be destroyed because we are up to something else. The children are looking out to us. Let us support them. And lastly, as FAWE Uganda, we have been working with different stakeholders who I would like to appreciate for the various perspectives, for the funding that you have provided, and that has enabled us to see young people flourish. We continue to support them. We have right now a campaign that we are running because of the dire need. I'll tell you that this year we were taking on 700 students, but we got 8,000 applications.
Wow.
That tells you that children are crying for education. They want to go to school, and they are limited by us. Can we all stand out to be counted, to support the young people so that their potential can be fulfilled? Thank you.
FAWE Uganda, thank you so much for the tremendous strides you are taking in shaping and changing a story, one life and one girl at a time, and a boy, of course. Engineer Edith Mbeza, sorry. Your closing remarks. I know that you already tick off the girl that I am in this year's theme. You already tick off the trends that I lead. You even tick off girls at the forefront of crisis. What's your call to action?
My goal to action is that I want to make most of the fairs where we come from, that we should embrace the things that people are trying to bring, that even when they try much as they can to bring it out you, and for you do not embrace, it cannot help. But if we accept and give chance to what they are trying to bring out, we can build a nation together. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Edith, and looking forward to hosting you as an engineer someday in my life. That brings us to the end of this conversation as we are turning to the International Day of the Girl Child tomorrow. The change that we want to see in our girl child, and something that Edith really emphasized on, in understanding who I am, what's my identity as a girl, as a young woman, and as a person. What is your identity? From there on does flow every other thing, aligning to support about your identity and your dreams. So thank you so much for being part of this critical conversation. We've had powerful insights from my guests this morning, inspiring voice of Edith, and of course it's clear girls in Uganda, they are not just facing challenges, but they're also leading change like Edith, and especially in times of crisis. So as we're preparing for the International Day of the Girl Child, commemorated tomorrow, the 11th of October 2025, under the theme, The Girl That I Am, The Change I Lead, let this be not just another one of those celebrations, but let it be a continued call and motion of action. Let's continue to listen to the girls, invest in their futures and support their leadership, not just in schools, communities and across the country, but even in the homes. Even in the homes, they need to be supported in leadership. Together, we can build a Uganda that we want to see our girls safe, educated and empowered to lead. Thank you so much, and keep the momentum across the social media platforms. On behalf of NTV Uganda, FAWE Uganda, have yourselves a good day.